all for that rousing, amazing ovation. Wow. But how many of you were here yesterday? Show of hands. Okay, great. So could we all please rise for the singing of our national anthem? Let's go. Everyone. No, I'm serious. We wrote it for a reason. Let's go. Okay, Maestro, please. We're going to together, okay? Here we go. Get ready, together.
Where's the words?
You can sing along with you. Here we go. Ready, get ready. Here we go.
Can we get the words?
Here we go. Well, it's the art of the startup. It's the path to get rich. There we go. It's the help of the family or VC. It's the guts and the glory just to be your own boss. It's the team, it's the dream, the esteem
of the startup.
Beautiful, beautiful. Again, you can be seated. Thank you.
All right.
We are going to start this event every morning with that, and actually try and get the musical rights and not get sued. But today we're going to do something really, really different and special. And it's amazing that we're actually able to get this gentleman here, because not only is he a gentleman, but he is a partner of mine for years, but more importantly, a friend of mine for way, way longer. And Just for Laughs, as Margaret mentioned, is going on right now, and it's a massive event. And those of you who live here know that, and those of you who don't live here are going to learn that very shortly. It truly takes over the entire city. And I say this not because of the fact that it's in my blood, but this really is the greatest of all the city's festivals. But before it was this massive behemoth that it is, this worldwide event, you saw that video, it was a startup. It was an idea in the eyes of the man you're about to meet. We're going to talk about that. So ladies and gentlemen, not only is he the commissioner of all of the things that are going to go on for the Montreal's 375th anniversary in 2017, but he is the founder, the founding father, not just of Just for Laughs, but really of comedy in this province and perhaps in this country and in this continent. So ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, with us at an amazing time in his life right now, Mr. Gilbert Rozon. I will let you sit.
Why don't we stand up in this? Because I'm taller than you?
Yes,
yes, that's the whole idea,
but not by much.
I kind of know you.
Okay, so.
Oh, wow.
What you're going.
A train is coming, right?
What you're seeing here is these are people who eventually will be starting companies. I've spoken many times before, but very rarely when there's a train.
My son is there at the front row, so I'm kind of getting scared, I thought he wanted to buy, underwrite my company.
These are people who are going to start companies who are going to basically sponsor Just for Laughs in a number of years. But I remember, meeting you at a time when Just for Laughs was an idea, a spark. So, now it's massive. Can you bring us back to the time when it was in your eyes, how you saw this, and the difficulties in trying getting it off the ground?
Yeah, first and foremost, the way Juste pour Rire was founded, it came as an offshoot of La Grande Virée, which was a festival in 1982 in Pointe-aux-Trembles, and before in the shoot, big success, Pointe-aux-Trembles, huge failure. I lost $1 million over a weekend, and basically, it's one thing to have 1 million, it's another thing to hold 1 million, and I had nothing, not even a penny, so I had to write to all the debtors and say, no way I can pay you, and whatever happens, give me a year so that I can come up with another concept. And so for probably 10 months, worked on some kind of Montreal festival with dance, opera, comedy, and eventually 2 months before doing it, I had a bad feeling and decided to switch the whole thing. We met for a weekend, found that name, Juste pour Rire, and I knew it would be Just for Laughs. Came with a plan, just 8 by 11, a small plan saying first year in French, third year in English, fifth year we close the street, we build the school. So it was quite simple, but fun to do. And 2 months before, or 7 weeks before, we had no money, zero zip. So I took a Valium because I was so stressed and went to the bank, and it's a true story, with a journalist. And they had a board, And basically, I owed them 450, and I had asked another $500,000. So with nothing, zero, so I was basically bankrupt. And they were discussing my case, and most probably there was a no, unanimous no, and I opened the door and I says, may I? I had no choice. And so I advocated the fact that Juste pour Rire would be a great success, that we had great names, that we had TV opportunities, blah, 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 blah. And eventually some of the board members were switching and their opinion about us. And I said, anyhow, if you're not lending me another $500,000, you're losing the first 450. So you better do that. Otherwise, there's a journalist there. Go tell him that you're canceling everything. They got scared and they lent me $500,000. So that's the way it is, but I was against the wall. So I'm not even saying that I was intelligent or courageous or heroic. I was against the wall. It was a question of life or death. Anyhow, then Juste pour Rire was a success, great hit, second year success, and then we had to launch Just for Laughs. So it's a true story. I'm not even exaggerating. I went to New York in October, I think it's 1984. I was in a cheap hotel room, looking the yellow pages for all the major agencies, William Morris, ICM, APA, calling the general number. As you can hear, my English is not that good, but imagine, 1984, so I was, hello, this is Gilbert ROZON, and I want to organize an international comedy festival in Montreal next year. May I meet someone? Sure, Mr. ROZON, come to our office tomorrow at 10:30. I says, wow, this is amazing. Second call, Gilbert ROZON, and I want, same, all my meetings were done in half an hour. I says, what a great country, America. It really works, And then the next day, not only, I was welcome at William Morris, but everyone was there, the CEO, all the senior VPs, 10 people around the table. Bienvenue, Mr. ROZON, what can we do for you? He says, I want to organize this comedy festival, and I'd like to have some of your artists. Which one? I said, Jerry Seinfeld, Jay Leno, They were not that big, but they were kind of, they had a branding. So anyhow, I said, yeah, sure, we're going to help you. And it was so simple. Everything was working amazingly. So, and when I left, in a very warm fashion, they said to me, Happy New Year, Mr. ROZON. And we're in October. I said, Happy New Year to you too, but Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. And then when I got, I knew that I shouldn't ask about this Happy New Year thing. I thought, they're kind of early. But when I went out and I was looking for Christmas decoration in New York, and there was none. So I said, something is wrong. Next meeting, same thing, Happy New Year, Happy New Year, like 5 meetings in a row, Happy New Year. And I was kind of doubtful. So in a small agency, one guy says, how come you're all wishing me Happy New Year? He says, you're not Jewish? I said, and I truly reply, a little bit. And then so he says, anyway, I still have no clue. Is it because they thought that ROZON sounds Jewish? And was probably at one point, but there was kind of problems with Jewish, so we switched on the religion. So anyhow, but ROZON sounds Jewish, or maybe with my accent, they all heard Jews for laughs. I don't know, but so I came back to Montreal, and in a strange way, I became friend with this guy. Happened to be Jewish, and it was very helpful. Are you still Jewish?
I still am. I still am. Unless there's a better offer coming
along. You're not
along.
a Muslim, or you
not
switch,
yet.
Because you still seem to pray 5 times a day. It kind of scares me,
So you told this story. It's an amazing story. This is, I'm here to verify, but this is all true. And
it suits you. That's why it's true.
But you did what's called the pivot. The pivot. Well, something was a massive failure. You change it around, and here's something new, and you're put up against the wall. And believe me, I've seen many times you've been put up against the wall, and
especially with him next door. Was pushing me against the wall. What a strange relationship.
Okay.
Against the wall, his favorite.
Well, it's been a wonderful session, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. And Margaret, back to you. No, not kidding.
If you think you're going to learn something about business, you're in deep trouble, you know. We don't know nothing, so.
Well. Okay, whoop, back to,
You see?
back on track.
Natural gesture.
Okay, so,
I'm not in the mood, you know.
yeah, well. He's turning his chair around, ladies and gentlemen, to face me. Okay, wow, where do we go from here?
Not to the wall.
Yes, exactly.
Always back to the wall.
But how did you convince people? I mean, because there was no such thing. Now, when people hear of comedy festivals, there's one in every city, which is the result of having this. But you were there at the beginning when there was no such thing as a comedy festival, which is what a lot of these people are doing. Here's a new business that doesn't exist. How did you convince them?
I think this is great where you create something, you know. It's either a terrible idea or it's a miracle. You know, it was a miracle because sometimes I ask myself, the guy that created Skidoo or an app, that you can see or buy around the world, it's an amazing thing. And Just for us, for exactly that, we had no clue that there was no comedy festival around the world. We were the first one. It was kind of a fluke. But I was trying to find something that suited my personality. I was trying to create an event because I love the event business. I had done 3 events just before that, and I love the feeling of the adrenaline, when you have to work a year for a month or 3 weeks. So anyhow, and comedy was kind of part of my family, and I connected the dot of comedy international. It was never done, so I said, oh wow, there's something there. And also the fact that Montreal is a bicultural city. I always thought that the greatest asset in Montreal is the fact there's Molière meets Shakespeare. This is some kind of bilingual city, and there's friction, and we call that the two solitude, and it's tough to live together, but it's the greatest asset that we got. So I tried to leverage it, knowing that I could have French comedians, French plays, French whatever, and English one, so that would be the only place where you could see both at the same time. You cannot do that in Paris, or you cannot maybe nowadays, because a lot of French people are moving to London, but you cannot do that in London on principle,
You could do it in Israel, speaking about French people.
I had to create that answer from nothing. Imagine, I had no clue when you asked me, I'm not that bad.
Well, as improvisation, no, not that bad at all.
Thank you,
Salesmen,
Andy,
though.
I appreciate it.
Salesmen, and I've seen people sell in life, but there's no greater salesman in the world than this man. And how important is being a salesperson in developing a business? How important is that, as an attribute?
Good question, Andy.
Phew.
So it gives me the time to reflect about the answer. But I truly like Juste pour. I think it's my destiny. I found, and I'm gonna just 5 seconds talk about destiny. When you're young and you don't know what you're gonna do in life, you look at stats. Or if you're doing that, there's a need for, I don't know, computer, whatever, or this or that. At the end of the day, you should try all kinds of things and find out who you are, because it's when you do something you love with passion, money will flow. But even if you don't become immensely rich, you'll have fun your whole life, which is the key thing, because I love working, and I don't, having fun for me is working. So that's the first thing. Secondly, when I was trying all these things, from doing real estate to, I'm a lawyer, to be a lawyer, eventually I ended up being a salesperson, insurance salesperson, all kinds of things, but I ended up selling publicity, doing 50 customers per week, door to door, what we call cold calls. So no appointment. You go there, and the guy is doing something, is a dentist, and you're talking to him over his shoulder. But anyhow, and at the end of every day, it's like if I had read 10 books. I was so filled with all these human lives. I was a great listener, and I still love listening. And selling is the only job that would go back tomorrow permanently. So much it's fun to meet people. And you don't have to think about the closing of the sale. You'll do it eventually. Just focus on the human and listen carefully.
Great answer. Cool.
Thank you very much.
There we go. Now, I'm biased. I'm insanely biased because of the fact of, given my many decades at Just for Laughs. But I watched what happened with the Jazz Festival this year. And the Jazz Festival was criticized for being the same thing. And one thing I got to give a lot of credit to the event, or specifically to you, is that each year you've thought like a startup. You did things like, I'll give you an example. The festival has so many different parts to it. It's theatrical, it's exterior, but I'll give one, is ZooFest.
Yeah.
ZooFest was one of where you created internal competition, something to look after the youth movement, let's say, in comedy. It was not easy because there was a lot of internal friction. It was not met with, oh, what a great idea, yeah, let's do this. But you had that startup spirit still in the festival. There's so many things that you have that startup spirit. How difficult is it, and why do you keep doing it?
There's two dimensions to that question. The first one is that, I created ZooFest because I was frustrated trying to come up with new ideas, and my people were telling me, no, this is the way it works. I says, I created it. When I created it, I had no clue what I was doing. So let's risk something. Let's have a passport. Let's do this. So I created ZooFest so that I could have a platform where I could play and try things. And eventually what it did was a lot of, you were there, people were so mad at me. But eventually it challenged the other thing because the young ZooFest was doing better in certain dimensions. So it was fun. But nowadays, the second part, which is the most important thing, over the years, you kind of define exactly who you are. And I truly think, and I'm sincere about that Juste pour rire and Just for Laughs are dedicated to happiness. So happiness is an immense challenge. There's so many ways of, looking for happiness. So obviously you can go and see a stand-up comedian or a play or a musical or a movie and have fun. Being a spectator the way you are now, hopefully you're having fun. But, so we did Juste pour rire, then Just for Laughs, then the street where it's free. Then eventually ZooFest to take more risk. And we added, the World of Games 2 years ago, which is basically a place, because the only way I was having fun with my father, real fun, was playing cards over the weekend, and he was a cheater. And it was fun. So I said, there's video games, there's bridge, there's chess, there's Scrabble. So let's do a World of Games so where people can share their fun. And then this year, there's a new thing called Bouffon. It's a play on word, obviously, which is a food fair. Because I love food, and I like everyone, it's a place where you share with friends, and you laugh, and you eat. And so now we have this food fair, and we still have 2 events to create in the next 2 years. So it's a constellation of events, with different dimensions that all are linked by one transversal line, or the pin in the shish kebab is happiness.
Very cool. So what are the events coming?
The pin in the shish kebab.
The pin in the shish kebab. So there's a T-shirt for you.
It sounds strange, but this is the way it is.
So that said, what's coming up? What are the events, like the new startups that are coming to the event to keep it fresh and unique? Can you give us?
I want to do something, a kind of Sundance of comedy. So with movies, TV and web, everything that's happening in the new media. So I want to start that hopefully next year or 2017 max, and a children's festival. These are on the table, they're in design, we want to do it, and they're all connected. So when you'll come to the festival, you'll have a global experience, or you'll come just to play bridge. And when you get out, there'll be this thing going on the street, and maybe you'll go and eat at our Bouffon. So it's a global experience that we're trying, and also creating a critical mass that's impossible to get around, You're going on Broadway because there's 40 shows. And I want to create that critical mass with the Festival de Cirque, the jazz, where you have to come in Montreal and GI. This is where it's happening, so that tourism, show business people, and journalists have no choice. You'll find everything. And I'm not monomaniac about comedy, It could be anything. If someone comes to me with another idea, I'll try to support it. So I'm trying to support young entrepreneur, which is tough to sometimes because they have no clue about what money is or cash flows, or they don't have that kind of training, it seems, but they love what they do. And Philip gave me a good advice. You always need three persons, someone on content, someone on design, which is something that I learned from him, and someone which is like a hustler. And sometimes I have one or two, rarely the three are, in the same room. Because eventually you have to understand that if you have $500,000, don't do a $1 million event and you end up with a huge loss. And it happened to me very often, as a training session, very expensive.
We are just about out of time, but
Oh, yeah?
again, because of the fact that these are people here looking for wisdom and seeing somebody who's basically done 33 years now,
33,
correct?
yeah.
33 years of startup, 33 years of risk taking, 33 years of taking chances. If there's a last bit of advice you can give a very attentive crowd looking at us, and what would you tell them? Last bit of
Just
advice.
follow your heart. Do what comes from your heart. You'll be always successful. It's don't be too rational. Listen to your instinct and listen to your soul and listen what could make a difference. I would have made more money in real estate, but I would be bored to death. I love what I do.
Well, if one has to follow your heart, I have to say this. For 30 years, I've had some great partnerships in life, but there's two that stand out, and it's my wife, who I've been married to for 30 years, and this man who's been my friend for 30 years. They follow
It's
your
a
heart.
threesome.
Yeah. You can't follow that. Gilbert ROZON, mesdames et messieurs. Thank you.
Thank you.